Well, it's Friday, and typically I'm looking at the schedule to see what games are on for the weekend, but like many other things, that's on pause. And that's a lesser thing, of course, compared to people's health and jobs and welfare of others, but sports for a lot of us has been a big part of our lives. All the time growing up, I loved playing sports, loved watching sports, and as time went on, tried different things, but I never really had a great coach. And looking back, I kind of missed that. Someone to really invest in me, to help me improve my game. But traveling around as my dad was in the military, various places, just love playing the game, love watching the game, and I still do. But I probably got introduced to great coaching when I got along with Ken Keltner over here in Westminster, Colorado at Tri-City almost 30 years ago now, probably a little over 30 years. And Ken was just a coach. He coached everything. He coached his boys. He coached boys and girls and rec leagues and church leagues. And later on, he got into the public high school, was coaching their varsity team. But I saw how he realized this was not just an end, it was a means to an end, getting into people's lives with the gospel of Christ and helping to develop people's lives. And it just changed my whole concept of sport and of coaching. Later on, we both ended up in Dunbar, Wisconsin at Northland, a small college up there, training young people for ministry. And I had been able to meet Jim Phillips and Denny Scott earlier on, incredibly good coaches who really bought into this, building into the lives of others. Josh Beers was an incredible coach and disciple maker. Dave and Barb Heron in volleyball. And then later on, Pete Weary, Paul Witt. And the list goes on of many, many great coaches. And then there's a whole generation of these players that ended up coaching as well. Nate Chatfield and Andrew Scott, Andrew Wingreen. I've seen them all over the country from that tiny little college. And I think back to this and I realize that there's so much being accomplished when you can coach the life. And that's really what coaching is. If we were to define it, it's not necessarily have to do with a sporting event, but it has to do with much more than that, of shaping a life and helping a person by coming alongside them, having an intentional conversation, and helping them to realize their full potential as an athlete or professional or whatever else, but most of all, the character of their life. And this was much of the way it was with Paul and Timothy. You know, the Apostle Paul called Timothy his son. He said, "Come alongside of me, and I pray for you, son, that you be strong in grace. And the things that you've seen and heard of me, the same that you'll commit to faithful men who will be able to teach others also." So there's an exponential effect. And so in a day when a lot of these guys that I mentioned are friends of mine and they're my age, and they have diminishing skills just like I do. So we joke around by saying the older I get, the better I was. And we're not going to improve. We're just not going to improve in our ability to play the game. But we can improve in our ability to coach. And there are always people to coach. And I just want to say thank you, a shout out to these coaches, to many others that they have mentored along the way, and say, be encouraged, your players will be back, and lives will still be changed. And for those of you listening that may not be involved in athletics, to realize that you too can be a coach. You too can come alongside someone and encourage them in their walk and help them to realize all that God has planned for them. So as you look forward to the sporting events that will probably soon come, see beyond the game to coaches that are really making a difference in people's lives. Have a great weekend.